evening, good evening, good evening. We are on air. We are together in this place, and we say welcome to all who have joined us from Grenada, from St. Vincent, from Dominica, wherever in the Caribbean or in the world you are. Welcome to this edition of Mek We Chat. This evening, we have some apologies from some of our usual suspects who are not able to join us. And one of those is our suspect in chief, who is having some technical issues. I believe his technicians are on site as we speak, trying to get him sorted out. That's Mr. Jerry George from St. Vincent. Unfortunately, not here with us. Don't know if he'll be able to join us before the end of this broadcast. Also, not with us this evening is Dwyer Astafan, our usual suspect from St. Kitts Nevis. He's having some challenges and not able to join us this evening. We miss him, we miss his presence. So, those two are not with us right now because of those issues. We expect to see Mr. Atherton Martin joining us a little bit from now. I hope he will. In Dominica, they're arresting people like it's a new fashion, you know. So I just hope he has already been arrested anyway and has a case in court. So I hope he's not been arrested again.
Right?
He will be free to join us a little later on this edition of Mek We Chat. Right now, we are here and we have a few things that we want to look on this evening, including where is my list of stuff? Including Grenada is the first country to sign off on the Scotiabank sale. That's one of the issues we want to look at. We want to look at the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines that has spent some money without the permission of the parliament. And in Dominica, we have a matter where they have played the tape. We want to talk about that tape they have played in Dominica. I remember one time in Grenada, there was a craze about a tape. I don't know if anybody remember that. And people were asking for the tape up and down and in and out and right and left and all over Grenada. Everybody wanted to see the tape. Well, in Grenada, in Dominica, they saw the tape. And that was a very interesting episode. Now, let me just make it clear. The tape they saw in Dominica had nothing to do with that tape in Grenada. You see? Absolutely nothing. But we will hear a little bit about that. And I hope Athy will join us before we are ready to talk about the tape, because I am sure, absolutely sure, Athy can give us some information that we would not have not being there on the ground in that country. One of the things I just saw, I think, let me see if I can pull this back up. It's that time of the month when there is usually a change in the price of gas. And all the people who did not buy gas yesterday must be very happy, because the price at the pump has gone down from $15.61 to $14.73, more than $1.
That's neat.
Yeah, that's a big drop.
That's great. Yeah.
And that's for gasoline at the pump. For diesel, the drop in diesel is not so big. It goes from $14.66 to $14.63. And kerosene oil moves from $9.34 to $8.99. And all of this are prices per cost per imperial gallon.
Bev?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. You're making me feel sort of funny. Last I remember paying for kerosene was 36 cents for the little can I went to buy.
Oh my goodness, Richardson, that was a long, long time ago.
Well, I was just going to ask. I mean,
Gosh.
before you said that if people were still using kerosene, I mean, I'm not being thing. I was just wondering since everybody,
Yeah, I guess
people was,
people still using kerosene or else it's just there on the list. But I do believe people still using kerosene because people still make the fire outside. People still use it in the lamp, I would presume.
And
okay.
Bev, as far as Athie's case is concerned, October 14th was supposed to be a critical date. So when he comes on, remember to ask him that.
Right.
If the deposition was supposed to be made because one hadn't been made when the case was called on September 9th. So it was supposed to be made by the 14th of October. So,
Right.
yeah.
So he can.
And if that's not made, well, that's it.
He can give us an update.
Technicality.
On.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But things in Dominica are really heating up. Let me finish. Look at these prices. Well, the price of the 20-pound cylinder of gas remains at $40. That one is subsidized. So all taxpayers help to pay for everybody gas.
Okay.
Yes, it's subsidized. So when you go to buy, you pay $40 and whatever the balance of the cost is, it comes out of the taxpayers' money. So that is still at $40. And I see at $37 there. Oh, they have another one, a Petrocaribe 20-pound cylinder. That one sells for $37. It is also subsidized. So whichever of those brands of gas you use, you taxpayers are helping you to fuel your home. The 100-pound cylinder is not subsidized. That cost is $214.
But is that natural gas?
It's cooking gas. It's liquid petroleum gas.
Yeah, it's liquid petroleum.
Yeah. And then the bulk gas, which the restaurants and such establishments will use, is $2.20 per pound. Over in Carriacou, they always pay more for these petroleum products than we do on the mainland.
Yeah.
So at the pumps, they pay $14.91. For the diesel, it's $14.81. The kerosene oil is $9.18, and it's $8.99 on the mainland. And I wonder about these subsidies. Why isn't Carriacou subsidized so that they pay the same price as on the mainland?
I don't understand, but
No, because it's the
think there's
extra.
some kind of I think there's some kind of explanation for that.
Yeah, it is a cost usually to take it up to. There's one cost when it reaches Grenada, and then there's the other cost to take it from Grenada to Carriacou. It's the same problem with
subsidize that cost so that the people in Carriacou can pay the same
subsidies.
price.
Subsidies are a problematic thing, huh? So be careful.
I know it can be problematic, but we're talking about fairness. Why is it that some citizens have to pay more for the same product when there is a government subsidy in place? So if you subsidize the mainland $2, subsidize the mainland $1, and put the other $1 for Carriacou so that the people there can pay the same price.
Ain't that easy?
Oh, yeah.
It don't have to be easy, it just needs to be something that can be done and should be done.
And hear me pour more fuel on the flames now. Why not take the subsidy off the passport and put the subsidy on gas?
Exactly.
Why not do what?
Take the subsidy off the passport and put the subsidy on gas.
Yes, that would absolutely make better sense because...
But then they will kill you. Somebody will kill you.
But passport is something which is discretionary. A lot of people, I would think there are less people in the country who have passports than those who have. But there are more people who use gas than those who don't.
And that is
So
why you move to alternatives free of charge.
And that is why, until the people who are making money out of fuel see how they can make money out of alternatives, they get in there fast, Richardson.
You could slap 6 panels on your rooftop, on your porch, and charge your electric car, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
But
head
did I
off for the
see that
morning.
TAMCC? Did I see a story that TAMCC has now basically is now self-sufficient? As far as was that what they were saying?
I don't know. I didn't see a recent story, but I know that TAMCC embarked on that many years ago in association with Beverley. You know, they did install a huge solar plant there. So much of
because I
TAMCC
saw.
was using solar power for maybe about 5 years ago. So I haven't seen a recent story, but it's quite possible they have increased their solar usage.
Right. Yeah.
Which is something that, you know, Richardson, institutions like those should be leaning towards renewables rather than fighting to pay the cost of fossil.
They
But
should.
eventually it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. But you see, is who becomes the early adapters, you know? Because if you look at England, when was it, last week, rolled out this huge windmill farm offshore. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, the Chinese had a lake that caved in. It was an old coal mine which closed down. And it caved in, and a natural lake formed. On top of that, they have just solar panels right in the water. You know, I'm trying to see how best to send. I was taking some photos this week of these solar panels on the lampposts in New Jersey. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to try to send it. But what they've done is to put 200,000 of these all over New Jersey, and they're on the lampposts. It's 2.5 by 5. I think, just looking at it, it might be a 200-watt solar panel. Mm-hmm. But when you add them up, that's a whole lot of power.
Richardson, could you excuse me a sec. Richardson, could you try and get your face in the center of the frame, please?
Is that better?
We need a little room under your chin. Okay, that's just, yeah, we'll work with that.
That's
I was trying to hide my beard, you know. So.
No. Well, now we can see it, yeah.
But it's interesting that New Jersey is a place where the seasons change.
Yeah.
So what kind of storage is in place for those long winter months?
No, well, here it's not the winter. It has nothing to do with it. Mm. Once you get in radiation, even in Europe, they found that even on a cloudy day, the panels still get radiation to produce a certain amount of energy. So as far as the winter, the spring, summer, or fall, once the panels are being radiated, it doesn't matter.
So it matters not how many days without sunshine.
No, if you have extended days of just heavy cloudiness, but you don't even get that, not even in England. I mean, you know, it comes and goes. But here in North America, I mean, you tend to see the sun sometime during the week. You know, it will radiate. I mean, you know, it's not that overcast that you don't get anything.
The sun is always out. As long as there is daylight, there is sunlight.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So we watch to see the transition into renewables. Right, so that was some good news for Grenada. $1 in the reduction of the price, more than $1 at the pumps, and general reduction overall for the price in the prices of petroleum products. So people will enjoy that for at least another month until about this time next month when the prices change again. Hopefully they will not go back up. They will continue to trend downward.
I find this is so unfair in Carriacou. The people in Carriacou work for the same salary, do they?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God! Just imagine. You know,
As far as I know.
Yeah, and they have to pay more for this. This is so unfair. You know, in this country, I was working in NHS for years, and we got a benefit called London Waiting. And if you're working in London, that benefit is higher because the cost of living in London is higher than outer London. This is the reason why they said, you know, you get more. If you're working in NHS and you're based in London, you get your London Waiting is higher. Yeah, that's the reason why. So they have a reason for doing it. Because when you go to London, you go out of London, you see things are cheaper than you have it in London. So this is so unfair. Come on, the government could subsidize this thing for Carriacou and Petit Martinique. They should have put the extra money, not the people. This is so unfair.
I believe that too. Well, it's the people because it's the taxpayers who would pay. But if you're going to use taxpayers' money for subsidy, then subsidize so that there is equity for the citizens of the country.
Yeah.
There was even this discrepancy with social payments, you know. The social basket payments, the people in Carriacou were getting less than the people on the mainland. And they came with some stupid story about why they were getting less, that there were people on the list who shouldn't be on the list and they needed to tidy up the list, and that is why they weren't getting the full amount and blah, blah. All kind of nonsense stories make no sense. Because if you realize that people are on the list who shouldn't be there, take them off. What's the big deal? Take them off. And when you realize, go ahead, Margaret.
No, I was just going to say that, you know, if people in Carriacou are being treated as second-class citizens, then maybe we need to let them pay less taxes too.
Exactly.
Of course, yeah.
Precisely. VAT in Carriacou should be 10%.
Yeah.
You know?
This is so unfair, man.
Yeah, when this story came to light about the people in Carriacou getting less subventions from government under the social services, and then the Minister of Legal Affairs, who is work for Carriacou, as usual, these elected officials always have some oily story to come and tell. And then it was announced, a date was given when they would start getting the same payments as the mainland. And my question was, so are you going to make it retroactive for these people? Because you have denied them this benefit to which they are entitled for so long. And now that you're going to implement it, is it going to be retroactive? I believe it should be. Once you have so-called tidied up your list and the beneficiaries who are on it are genuine beneficiaries, give them whatever you were shorting them. Give it to them retroactive, you know? And it's little inequities like these in societies which cause people to feel like, you know, like they are being treated less.
Which is a feeling that has always been, you know, Carriacou have always felt that way from as far back as I can remember. It really didn't matter which administration was in power, but they have always seen themselves and felt that the mainland has not treated them fairly and treated them as second-class citizens. And I think that in a way sort of like, you know, had Carriacou sort of looking out for themselves. I mean, they pretty much take care of themselves and have never really.
Yeah, but it is something that if the representative for the people over there are really representing the people, these are some of the things that they should make matter and try to get, you know, some equity between what happens in Carriacou and what happens on the mainland. It costs like what? Almost $200 on the Osprey to travel between Carriacou and Grenada. It's preposterous. Already on the mainland, you're paying $2.50 for the cheapest and maybe $5 or $6 for the most expensive to get from one parish to another. But if you're going to Carriacou, make sure your pocket deep because it's not cheap.
But that's why I said earlier that's a problem when you have subsidies, because at what point do you stop subsidizing? So you want to subsidize the ferry, you want to subsidize the gas prices, you want to subsidize and there's a list.
Well,
let me just finish 1 second quick. And then how much, if you look at the other end, what's the contribution of that state to the national economy? I mean, at one time, at some point in the game, it becomes a burden and it becomes unfair to the folks on the other islands. There's only so much you could subsidize.
Yeah, but Richie, I agree with you on that. But right now, if taxpayers in general are subsidizing gas, because we were talking about gas in this case, kayaks are also subsidizing Grenadians' ability to get their gas cheaper. So it's not fair to the kayaks.
Yeah, but they also have another problem for the folks in Carriacou. When once the gas arrives in Grenada, there's an added cost to get it up to Carriacou. You have to consider that, because when you're doing pricing, there are certain aspects of pricing you have to consider all the costs associated with coming up at the final price. So that's what you have to look at. I understand the emotional part behind it, but I'm saying, in a cold and hard look, you have to go when you're coming up with a final price, you must have the costs associated with those prices.
No, my argument was not to subsidize everything. Even when I mentioned the ferry, it was in the context that Carriacou people already have this burden to bear. So we're looking to see if we're going to subsidize, strive for some equity in products that are used both in Carriacou and on the mainland, like the petroleum products. So if we are looking for equity, and that is the word I chose, equity, right? The people of Carriacou, choices for traveling between Carriacou and the mainland are limited, and these are private businesses. When it comes to petroleum products, government manages how these things are sold. So put some equity there. And as Margaret suggested, take the subsidy off the passports, put it on the petroleum products, so that the people of Carriacou can enjoy some kind of relief, even in this area, because by nature of the fact that they are detached from the mainland, they have some burdens that they bear, which are kind of unavoidable.
I agree. It's the same thing with Tobago. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking that probably we need to, if you're talking about subsidies, then look at things that are necessities as opposed to other things. I mean, you can't compare passport to gas, for example, because people have to eat. At least that's my thinking, and gas is necessary for them to cook. People don't necessarily have to travel. Don't kill me, people, for saying this, but you know what I mean. I mean, you're not going to die if you don't travel somewhere.
Yeah, because that's a matter. Sorry, Margaret.
No. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
traveling is a matter of, number one, necessity. Number two, if it's not necessity, is whether or not you can afford to.
And just so that, I mean, I don't know if Richie knows, but the reason why the passport just sort of came up is because they raised the price of the passport in Grenada, and supposedly people were told that they were paying what it was before, 175?
175.
Right, they were paying that because government was subsidizing the cost of the passport.
Margaret, since you're on the matter of passports, a couple of mornings ago, somebody was presenting us on air with the prices being charged for passports in light of the fact that we were told by the government at the press briefing this week that our rates are pretty much the same as, or maybe even better than the other OECS territories. So this person did a little homework on the net and came up with the following. The Grenada passport is $250. The St. Vincent passport is $160. For children under the age of 16, it's $80. St. Lucia is $80. Dominica is $150, and if you're under 16, it's $75. St. Kitts Nevis, $250, and if you're under 16, it's $150. And Montserrat, $50. Just thought I'd share that with you guys.
Yeah, and the St. Kitts Nevis passport, I understand, is a 10-year passport. So even though the cost is the same as Grenada, they get 5 years more.
Yep.
So, right, so travel is, in my opinion, for necessity or because you can afford to. I don't know that someone who, excuse me please, someone who has financial constraints would want to put travel as a priority if it's not a necessity.
No, but I think when you look at this thing, the whole model, and Athy raised it last week with the whole idea of the work and such going away. But there's a challenge, there's a real challenge as to how to come up with more income. The McKinsey Group, their global initiative, they were even looking at Brazil, Mexico, Colombia, and how their corporations are doing. And then the lack of middle companies and such to feed those corporations. And I'm sitting there reading this document and thinking, so what happens on a small island state? You know, the capacity just isn't there. You know, I mean, I read a document today on ICT where somebody's saying, okay, we get competitive or we equal with other countries and such. Equal how? You know, and that's the problem you face. Just scale, the size. If you yourself, we take the entire OECS and put them together, we get about let's be generous, 750,000 people. You know, a small city. And then but scale. How do you get economies of scale?
But Richie, then fine. So agree with the scale. In which case, then, wouldn't it be prudent then to manage your limited resources in a more effective manner?
And where does that get you?
Well,
you put it out there. Where does that get you? You came up with a question, so where does that get you? Exactly it. It's a very difficult problem. It's a difficult model. And that's the problem with small island states.
I tend to have. Sorry, go ahead, Catherine.
Yeah, just asking Richard, is that why we're so poor then?
No, it's not a matter of we're so poor.
But Athy pointed to something when he was there, because he referred to banana when you had Winban. That,
Small?
Yeah, but Richie,
wait. No, stop. One little farm, a little corner of a farm in Latin America produces as much banana that Grenada will produce in a year. You know, again, and when the big ships are coming from England or Europe or whatever it is, and they say, okay, let's stop off and get some bananas. Are we going to stop off in Grenada and St. Vincent? No, we're going to make one stop into some Brazilian coastal city, pick up how many ever tons they need, and straight back to Europe. Rather than having to the same problem you just came up with, it, travel from island to island to collect. So just the cost of doing business with us, you know, the nature of the cost of doing business with small island states comes in above what it would be with a large country.
And that is why when you talk about competing, Richie, I believe small states cannot go out there to compete in terms of volume.
No.
There have to be creative ways in which small islands trade and do business and enjoy wealth. So you cannot see a Belize, well, not even Belize, because Belize seriously is not really such a large country anyway. But you cannot see a country which is 10 times your size producing bananas, and just because you have good soil and can produce real delicious bananas, you think you can go and compete with the volume. You can't. So the thinkers, the business people, the elected officials, and all the citizens in the country, it's just that on a large scale, citizens' voices are not heard. But we have to come up with creative ways to do our business, to do our trading, to offer things that larger countries cannot. And establish, carve out our niche in the world. We already know what we cannot do, so we need to figure out what we can do and do it
definitely.
well.
And there's definitely.
Yeah,
Because I think the food that we grow in our country, in the Caribbean, these are the food that wealthy people out there need to eat. They need that kind of a food because there is no chemical, there is no, it's more organic. Why can't we go that route? We provide things for only the wealthy, high-end people.
Catherine, okay, and I will tell you, you go to the South Seas, and the same fruit you have in Grenada, naturally grown. It grows natural out in the South Seas because that's its original home. And more plentiful a state than we have. So this is, for example, I mean, you could, if you're really into business and such, you could import things from, for example, in New York, for example, a lot of the Caribbean, quote unquote, Caribbean fruits you see, is coming from Asia.
Notice.
You know, it's just cheaper to get it here.
Just cheaper, you see? But
so again, I come back and it's here, and it's not that our fruit is that special. That you know, these people, I'm not going to fool myself. It's not that special that you know, people need to be eating it. That's the challenge we face. If it was let's put it this way: if it was that special, trust me, there would be folks there waiting as soon as it's ready to pick it up and rush back with it.
Yeah, this is where I disagree. I think we don't believe it's special. I think it's our mindset, is how our approach to actually what we grow. Someone is telling us it's not that good, and we believe it.
I mean, I hear what Richie is saying.
Hold the thoughts. We're gonna come back on this, but we have to take a break now. Let's take a break, and then when we come back, we'll definitely come back on this. Yes, George. Yes, George.
Just before you go to your break, I don't want to leave out the people who are watching you guys tonight. First of all, Tony Ben says in St. Vincent, the passports are for 10 years. And as I mentioned a little while ago, St. Vincent, it's $160 for adults, and children under 16, it's $80, okay?
Right.
Sharon Roberts says in Belize, it costs $25 to renew a passport for 10 years. $25. That's what, about 66, no money. And Fitzroy Adams says, we also have to look at wages of the working people in Grenada. It is far less than the other islands. No, I don't know if that's verifiable, but that's what he's saying here online. Okay, Pilgrims, let's go take a wee little break, and we'll come on back.
Because your vehicle is a necessity, being roadworthy is critical. Hubbard's Motor Department introduces its new tire and battery sales and service outlet located at Building Supplies Compound in Grand Anse, close to the Sugar Mill Roundabout. Available are a wide range of competitively priced tires, maintenance-free batteries, oils and lubricants. Keeping in mind your busy schedule, this outlet is equipped to provide you with fast and reliable service. Simply drive in and you'll be delighted with your service experience. For more information, contact 440-2087. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Co-op Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
Hey, what? I just came from the land and this sign here caught my eye. What's that sign about?
Someone must have asked Grenlec to move a pole. But you know, there's no space reserved on the side of the road for planting poles. So Grenlec has to get permission from landowners, and that can take a lot of time.
Oh, Grenlec asked me to help them contact my neighbor Ben about planting a pole on his land. But Ben passed away. His children own the land, but they all live abroad.
That's why Grenlec needs customers to inform them in writing at least 3 months in advance.
3 months? All that?
It seems like a lot. But think about the time it will take for Grenlec to find and get permission from all of Ben's children. And sometimes moving one pole requires you to move the pole before, the one after, plus the wires that support them on the ground. That means even more landowners to find and get permission from. Then Grenlec needs to schedule their teams and notify customers about any power outages.
Well, I need the pole on the farm moved, so I'm going to write Grenlec a letter now.
Grenlec, energizing our Grenada.
You don't know how many hurricanes will be coming this season, so you need to be prepared. At Hubbard's Hardware and Building Supply Departments and the Food Fair supermarkets, everything from canned foods, flashlights and batteries, to plywood, tarpaulin, lanterns, roof repair kits, water tanks, etc. are available. For over 90 years, we've helped you prepare for and recover from storms. Hubbard's Hardware, Food Fair supermarkets, and the Grenadian General Insurance, an integral part of your hurricane preparedness plan.
Alrighty, folks, we are back with the usual suspects. Top of your screen from left to right. In New York, Margret Francis. Wave bags. Yours truly in the middle, and then off to the right is Catherine Edwards, and she's off there in Croydon. Bottom left of your screen in New Jersey, Mr. Richardson Franklyn. And, well, I know that she's around, but for some reason
She has just disappeared.
Her video has just disappeared, and that's Beverley Sinclair, who, by the way, is back in Grenada. And, oh, there she comes.
There she is.
Here she comes. All right, Beverley, she's back. We're back, Beverley. So where were you?
I just had to do a little taking off for a few seconds there, so I'm back.
I hope you had enough runway.
It was a helicopter.
Oh, I see, okay.
Yes. Right, and you have done all the welcome back. So we want to pick up back with this issue where Catherine believes that it's because we do not have enough faith in our foods, why we're not putting it out there as a special kind of project, a special kind of product. Richardson absolutely does not believe that at all. So, Catherine, you want to make that point you were making before we went on the break?
Yeah. I think that's the reason why, because we don't appreciate what we got as much, because as Richardson said, oh well, people don't really we are what we got is not very good, and I don't believe that, Richardson.
I never said it was not.
It's not really that special. I think it is special, and people out here in this country believe it's special. I don't think we take that as serious. I come to this country and people used to ask me, Catherine, what are you doing in London? And you live in a nice place like Grenada. The last time I was doing the culinary cooking course in my in this college down there, and I was speaking to my tutor, and we was discussing, and I told him about the concept we have, the approach we have, how we don't appreciate our food in our culture. And he was saying, Catherine, you all have the best, but you all don't treat it as that. You know, you all don't treat it as that. And I was surprised, because I think we have something good, but I don't want anyone to say, oh, we don't have it, because it's our approach to it. And you have to got the passion, the enthusiasm, and everything that it takes to bring it forward. And I think it could work. But it's our attitude towards it. I think we have the best. I believe in 100% we have the best things.
But when he said the best, did he mean the best in terms of the actual item, or best in the sense that it's naturally grown?
Naturally grown.
Right.
Naturally grown.
And
natural soil.
That's true for many parts of the Caribbean and true for a lot of other parts of the world.
But Catherine, I mean, let's be honest. How many people in Grenada right now, they're spraying the vegetables with all sort of weird products from various multinationals?
Yeah,
but you know,
when I go to the market, when I'm in Grenada, I go to the market on night, and we ask guys, how come there aren't any flies around your vegetables? And they start say, well, I say, oh, okay, but you know those vegetables were sprayed, so the flies will not go by them.
Yeah, fertilizers have become commonplace in the Caribbean.
Thank you.
You have the farms that are said to be organic now. Right here in Grenada, organic farms are so small. Those people probably just grow things for their home and for close family and friends, not for the market. Mm-hmm. You do not go in the market or in the supermarket here and see local organic products factory. Not anymore.
Here's a comment which may be of interest to you guys from Tony Ben. I'm assuming this person is in St. Vincent. What he is saying is that in the 70s, we had a coconut oil industry in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. But somewhere it was said that coconut oil is not good for us, and corn oil is better. Today, we know different, but the coconut oil industry is more. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, he's correct, George, and that goes back to marketing again. Mm-hmm. So what the bigger corporations did, and it's two sets of oil. It was the corn oil and the soybean oil, right? Mm-hmm. Right. So and they decided to say that coconut wasn't healthy, and it clogged your arteries and blah 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 blah. Now let me tell you something. You go in the groceries now, and guess who's king on the shelf? All of a sudden, coconut oil is in there again, and even something called turmeric.
And now you see coconut oil being advertised as a primary ingredient in shampoos, in skin creams, in so many cosmetic products, because the people who are now earning the money in these industries no longer feel threatened by coconut oil, so they can embrace it and make it a part of what they offer. Again, you look at scale, you know, and I said it before and I'll say it again. We cannot go out there to compete on scale. We have to niche ourselves. We have to find what we have that others do not and market that, package it, market it, and trade with it so that it can be beneficial to us. We are not the only small states. There are several small states around the world, and some of them are doing extremely well.
But Bev, where is it in Paradise? The chocolate guys up there.
No, they in St. Patrick's. They in Belmont.
St. Patrick.
Is
St.
Belmont?
Patrick's.
Yeah. So look at them for example. They produce a slab of chocolate that's used by chefs, high ordered chefs.
Exactly.
I mean, you know, and it's known for its quality. You know, so Catherine, that goes back to what you were saying. Yes, you can, but I mean, you know, it's only so much. You know,
so much you can do. So,
along the lines of what you're saying, Kipling, Richardson, Kipling is saying getting food from Grenada is always welcome here in New York. Nothing can come close to the taste you get from whatever you get from Grenada.
I don't know. That's a subjective thing. But, you know, taste is subjective.
By the way, Tony Ben is correcting me. I mentioned that I thought he might be in St. Vincent. Tony is actually in Florida. Thank you, Tony. Okay.
The other day I had a butter mango from the supermarket, and I ate the mango. When I got down to the seed of the mango, it's like plastic. I said, Catherine, what you just eat there? I've never known mango, stolen mango. It's like a plastic. And I thought, what this artificial thing is that? It tastes really good, but that was, I couldn't believe it. I said, Catherine, what did you eat? And I thought, wow.
But I think you need to realize something. I think this is something that people are not taking into consideration. The reason why the things can't taste as you would have it when you have it home is that most things would have matured on a tree. They would have ripened on a tree. It's in its natural state.
That's what I'm saying.
You can't transport it from Grenada to here in that state or from wherever else it comes from in that state. It has to be picked at a certain stage in its life and then use artificial means to keep it until it gets to where you are. It was the same thing with bananas. When they exported bananas, that was the same thing. It was kept in a climate controlled environment ungeased until it got to England and did whatever they had to do with it. So if you're expecting the same taste you would expect when you just walk into your yard and pick a mango that's fully matured and ripened, sun ripened and everything else, where all the sugars would have crystallized in the heat and whatnot and everything else, you're not going to have that. You're just not going to have it.
Yeah, you always have a different taste.
Yeah.
Very much so. Yeah, well, I have not seen Mr. Athy show up, which is, I'm missing him because I really want to talk about Dominica. So let's go to Scotiabank before we go to Dominica, just in case Athy still shows up. I really hope he's not in jail. You are muted, Richardson. I don't know.
Yes, sorry. Yeah. I put the solar panel in the chat box.
Okay.
So I hope you guys can click on it. And I don't know if George wants to just share it.
Download it.
Yeah, but
right. So since last year, around September, somewhere there, we heard that Republic Bank Holdings Limited, and Republic is a huge financial group for those who do not know. Need to go and do some research on Republic Holdings and see the extent of the size and the wealth of this regional company. Republic Holdings announced that it was purchasing Scotiabank since sometime around September last year, and that created a little firestorm. The bank announced that it would be purchasing I want to make sure everybody understands which bank doing what. Republic announced that it would be purchasing Scotia interests in 5 countries in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, as they will be leaving this area. Now that created some stir. Antigua decided that they're not selling because the Prime Minister says he has to sign the vesting order, and nobody never come and talk to him before about this thing. So he has no intention of granting permission for it. Be that as it may, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank gave permission to everyone else to go ahead and complete the transaction. And Grenada has become the first country to sign what is known as the vesting order to vest those resources from Scotiabank to Republic Holding, which is a legal requirement in doing this kind of transaction in the currency union. So Grenada did that yesterday, and Dr. Keith Mitchell, who is the current Minister of Finance in Grenada, he's also the current chairman of the Eastern Central Bank, Eastern Caribbean Central Bank Currency Monetary Council. That's the council of ministers who make decisions within the bank. An arrangement that I don't particularly think is the best, but it is what it is. Anyway, we have too many politicians involved, it's trouble. But be that as it may, he's the current chairman of that council. He's the current finance minister of Grenada. He signed off on this. So in Grenada, this transaction is now a done deal. And Scotiabank, that signage, I'm sure, will soon be coming down. And whatever physical changes will tell us that Republic Holdings has taken over will soon be manifest here in Grenada. Scotiabank has already advised its customers, as far as I know, about the changes, and that their banking operations should seamlessly move from one to the other. We will see what is seamlessly in that context. And the staff, I understand some will be continuing employment, some will be severed. I don't know the details on that, but the union, through Andre Lewis, who is the President General for Grenada Technical and Allied Workers Union, which represents the workers, he did say that provisions have been put in place to ensure that the workers are properly protected while this transaction is taking place. So it's a very, very big move. The financial situation in the region is very delicate, with correspondent banking no longer what it used to be, and with Scotiabank now leaving, the international banks that we have are being reduced in numbers every day. And one thing we know for sure, we cannot bank without international banks. And it doesn't matter what any politician say, that's just the reality. We need correspondent banking, or else the only thing we can do is put our money in the credit union and take it out when we're ready. And then the credit union and the indigenous banks will be in trouble because they will have nowhere to transact their business when we go and transact our business with them. So with Scotiabank leaving, we'll be left with First Caribbean International as an international bank, and RBTT. Is there any other? I'm missing any?
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, I was going to ask you who else was left.
Yeah, I think that's it for Grenada.
And what's the deal with Antigua?
Well, Antigua has been making a lot of noise and about the Scotiabank, and Gaston Brown has said that he will not be signing the vesting order. Scotiabank has said that if the transaction cannot go through, it will more than likely just close the branch in Antigua rather than, try to do the sale. Closing the branch, of course, is a horse of a different color, because that means all depositors will have to find other places to put their money. All the staff will not have jobs anymore, and it will just be a totally different thing. Gaston Brown, Antigua's Prime Minister, has even gone as far as to tell the people in Antigua that if the bank decides to close the branch, those who have mortgage with the bank shouldn't pay. They should stop paying the bank. You know? And this kind of posturing does not do anything. Antigua has a lot of black marks against it as far as banking is concerned. And I don't know if the Prime Minister don't seem to recognize and understand this. And the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, I also have a problem with, because Antigua is a part of the currency union. And whatever it does is going to affect all of us. And the ECCB says nothing, does nothing, when Antigua is carrying on in this irresponsible manner. And
yeah, because I was wondering about how that would affect the rest of the ECCB countries.
It will. It's the same central bank. And because of this, I believe the central bank should have a stronger voice, and whatever resources are at its disposal to exercise discipline in these countries, it should. Because it cannot allow one person to go rogue or one country to go rogue, and then we are going to suffer the consequence of those actions, whether we agree with them or not, whether we participate in them or not, because we all have the same central bank. Yeah, but this is a big change, which is coming. Big change.
When does that become effective?
I believe it is supposed to be next month, you know. That's the date I have in my head, but I will double check to see if that's the date on paper. But the vesting order has been signed, so it can be any day now. But I do believe a date was announced, and somehow I have another.
So do the other countries have to sign, or is it just?
Yes, each country has to sign its own vesting order. And that is why Antigua felt so powerful, I would say, to say that it's not going to sign the vesting order, thinking that if it doesn't sign the vesting order, Scotiabank cannot sell to Republic. Maybe it can't, but it has the option of closing and just leaving without doing a sale. So we will see how Antigua handles that. Guyana also has some issues, but Guyana's issues are totally different to those in Antigua. And Guyana now is so distracted with its election and everything else that's happening there. So we will see what happens. I don't know that there is any deadline on them signing off on these things. From a business perspective, I'm sure that Republic will want it to happen as quickly as possible so you can tidy up these loose ends and get on with your business. So we will see how the other countries treat this. Prime Minister Michel has said that, you know, Grenada has to show leadership and take the lead in this instance. So we hope that others will follow quickly and we can see how we go forward in banking from here. Scotiabank has been a staple in the region. It is definitely not one of the banks that I voted would be leaving anytime soon.
That's true.
But Bev, as far as the de-risking of the banks, the correspondent banks, has anyone really stood up and said why the banks are leaving? Have they said that?
No, those kind of arguments don't happen at the governance level in any of these countries. We here on Mek We Chat have probably talked more about de-risking and the implications of it than all the ministries of finance put together, and all the banks put together. You know, it's and when individuals like try to access certain services from Western Union or from MoneyGram that they used to access in a particular way and they find that they can't, instead of explaining what is happening, it's just a lot of noise is made about it.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, please.
And people are left in ignorance because many people still do not understand what de-risking is doing to the banking sector and to their ability to transact business.
Were you going to say something, Richie?
No, go ahead.
No. I was just going to ask, wasn't there something with Western Union and pulling out services from some island also?
Western Union had actually closed all its branches in Antigua.
Oh, okay.
And then whatever issues there were, I guess they worked something out and they reopened a very small number of those branches, less than 5.
Yeah, wow. because I know one of the reasons some of the banks were leaving at first was the whole idea, the cost of doing business. So the whole idea of not using digital banking, banking online, that type of stuff, rather than people having to go to the bank and line up and such. That was problematic. But usually when you start seeing the risking, you start talking about money laundering and terrorism financing.
Exactly.
And if countries do not have strong know your customer guidelines in place, this is the end result. Because in the Caribbean, we're lucky to even have not just the financial FATF, the Financial Task Force. We actually have CFATF, the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force. So, and to me, they always seem to push that aside and not take into account how important it is to have these organizations in place and then to make sure that we have all the rules associated with know your customer and such. Because even here, a few years ago, HSBC was made to pay a few $1 billion.
Yeah.
Just for violating the know your customer rules. So if we want to be lax about it, now this is what we end up with. In fact, all of these banks are gone. And then what? Because a friend called me from another island and say, look, I have this hotel and I cannot use PayPal anymore. So if you start seeing your hoteliers and these folks start having problems, then what's next? Unless they have their accounts offshore. If their accounts is offshore, no need for them to pay taxes in Grenada. Eh? So you see, so it trickles down again. Or in the Caribbean. I don't want to be specific. So bias in the fact. Yeah.
And this is what people in general do not understand, that it's because the banks do not want to face these problems that come with all the illegal activities that can happen when you're moving money from one place to the other and you're not able to control where the money comes from. That the Citizenship by Investment program has been a big contributor to de-risking, because some things have happened within our Citizenship by Investment program, which has literally scared the banking sector. And why should they continue to put themselves at risk? So they go and leave us here. Oh boy, somebody asking for Ate and Jerry. They don't like our company. I object.
I know, right?
By the way, guys, a little note just came in here that I think we need to get out. This came from the Met Office at the airport. It says that Grenada, a tropical wave is affecting Grenada and could produce moderate to heavy showers and thunder showers overnight. Minor flooding in low-lying and poorly drained areas and small-scale landslides along roads and steep slopes are possible. I didn't see anything happening outside there this evening. Bev, any rain up by you?
Yes, I got some rain, a little bit of rain this afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyhow, we got that out.
And I just saw some lightning through my window.
Oh.
You know. Mm-hmm. And I'm one of those people who, when I see lightning, I retreat to the darkest corner in the house.
I know what you mean. I do the same thing too.
Yeah, I don't like lightning at all.
Yeah, lightning just gives me the bejesus. Yeah, so. Oh, you get notice from Nadma, man. That's nice.
No.
That
This,
man
no.
work at this time?
No. Don't go there. That was not from NADMA. That was from MBIA, the Maurice Bishop International Airport.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay. Good.
This came in at about 25 to 9, half an hour ago. Didn't want to interrupt you guys. Somebody named Von Rick Roberts says countryside lightning in Calavini. So okay, I guess we could wind up with some showers tonight. If you're seeing the lightning, Bev, and so is Von Rick in Calavini, I guess there's something out there.
Yes, there is lightning. As soon as we finish here, I go and find my little corner.
Oh, man.
Oh, yes, it's that serious.
I'm going to take a little break in a little while and go outside and take a look, see what's happening here in St. George.
It's time for our next break, you know. The time sneak up on us quietly.
Say that real
Right,
fast.
so
The time sneak up on us. Okay, break time. We'll be back.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Can I have a chicken lunch, please? Large.
Real nice today.
I don't want that.
But you just asked for a chicken lunch.
I don't have problem with the lunch. Afraid the container.
What is the problem with it?
These styrofoam containers, they don't good for the environment. They shorten with life.
What foolishness you telling me? So what you want me to use?
Put my food in this.
Where you get that?
At the food fair, where you could get all biodegradable food boxes and disposable food supplies like cups, plates, anything you could think about. Name it, it's there. And they don't harm the environment. Food fair, taking the lead in cleaning up and protecting the environment. Hey, like you take me advice, you get in your biodegradable food supplies.
Well, girl, I supporting who supporting the environment. That is why I shop in that food fair.
Food fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets. Products distributed by Hubbard's agency, Kirani James Boulevard.
GRENADAB Community Partnership Initiative, supporting health.
To the individuals who will be using these vehicles to serve the people, please ensure while we are using these tools that we use these tools in a manner that we will all be proud of. To GRENADAB, a long-standing partner with us, a true testament of what can happen when private and public sector work together for the benefit of the people.
GRENADAB, energizing our community.
Alrighty, folks, we are back. We are now well into our final hour. It's 10 minutes after 9 o'clock. All right, Bev, what's next up your sleeve there?
Well, I want to look at what is happening over there in Dominica. And I'm really sorry I am so missing Atherton tonight. But Dominica is headed for a general election. And what is happening over there is really cause for concern. The party which currently forms the government is using every bit of state resource and every means at its disposal to just create havoc and confusion in the country. And that is my analysis of what I see looking on from the outside. Several executive members of the main opposition party, the United Workers' Party, have been arrested over the past few weeks on various types of frivolous charges. And every time they go to court, huge, and I mean huge crowds gather at the courthouse to see what is happening in there and what's going to be the outcome. So there's a lot of confusion in Dominica right now. The Prime Minister has said that election will be held in 100 days. Well, he hasn't given a date, and he hasn't said when this 100-day countdown will start. He just says elections will be held within 100 days. And I don't think that is good enough. We so need legislation in our countries to fix an election date. Not the stupidness like what Grenada was trying the last time, to give Parliament the authority to fix the date. That doesn't make any sense. The date is something which should be enshrined in the Constitution so that you know that this date is election day and nobody can play politics with the dates. You know? So when citizens ask for that kind of amendment, and then you're gonna come and say, oh, let's amend it to give Parliament the power to set the election date. What difference is that to allowing the Prime Minister to call the date? Exactly. The Prime Minister controls the Parliament anyway. Even if it's a one-seat majority that the party has, the Prime Minister is still going to control and dominate the Parliament. So what's the difference?
But you know what my thoughts on that whole referendum were already. I told you guys that was a setup.
Oh yeah, that referendum was a joke. It was an absolute joke. Yeah, and the voter turnout for it was low. There has not been any scientific analysis of why it was low. But the people who recognize that this is not the way to go about amending the Constitution, they came out and voted, even though it was a small number, so the changes were not made. And it's a good thing they were not made, because that is not how they should be done.
So, question, Bev, because I know one of the things that that videotape from Dominica.
Yes.
So was this something recent or?
Yes, it is something recent. Someone shot a video of a person dropping one of those roller bags that people use when they're traveling.
Right.
Dropping one of those roller bags at the house of the leader of the opposition. And the story was planted that this person went there with that roller bag full of money to pay him some bribe. Well, whoever concocted that story and that video must have not known that the leader of the opposition had his house encircled with cameras. So he captured the entire scene and later he played that tape in a public meeting. And what he captured was a gentleman rolling up to his house with a roller bag, dropping it in some little flower patch that he had there, taking off, and then a short while after, somebody else came and picked up the bag and left with it.
That's the funniest thing I saw.
I tell you, so when the first video was put out, people who saw it could have easily believed the story that this person come to drop a briefcase of money for the leader of the opposition. But because the entire tape was there, you could play the tape and show the nation, look, people, forget that. That is not what happened. This is what happened. One person come and drop the bag. Few minutes after that, somebody else come and pick up the bag. And then they try to concoct the story that is some bribe they're taking for the leader of the opposition. But this is what is happening in Dominica, and it is so frightening. It is absolutely frightening because the parliament of the country has been called on to give account for $1.2 billion plus, which is missing. And that's a big hue and cry in Dominica right now. Where is the 1.2 billion?
So I guess the leader of the opposition got his share, that 1.2 billion. That's what the person was dropping off.
and since that issue was raised and the government has been unable to explain where is this $1.2 billion which is missing. They cannot deny that it is missing. They have not denied that it is missing. But there has just been story after story after story about what happened or what is happening. And none of the story is credible, none of it gel. And people are still asking the question, where is the money? So the ruling party, not the ruling party, the party which now forms the government, has found itself on the back foot as far as allegations of corruption is concerned. Mm-hmm. So in trying to shift the focus now, I want to say, look, you people say we corrupt, he corrupt too. So
trying to set up the poor man, just imagine.
Yeah. You know, so they did try to set him up, but that one royally backfire, I tell you.
But you know, that points to just such a new low. I mean, I understand politics is what it is. You know, people are going to spin and do it and everything else. I mean, I could deal with the spinning and whatnot, but I mean, to do something like that, I really think, you know, it says a whole lot about the leader of the country, and it lets you understand why the country is where it is.
Definitely.
Exactly. And that is why it is so frightening, because the rest of the Caribbean just sit back and behave as if it's not their business. You know, we have this policy of non-interference and sovereignty and whatever is happening inside Dominica, the people there must sort it out for themselves. We have this really ridiculous approach to being neighbors and sharing the same economic and physical space. I am very disturbed by what I see happening in Dominica in this election campaign. I can tell you that. Very, very disturbed. Some of the utterances from the platforms and the multiple arrests of the people in the opposition party. You know, the use of the state resources against the people of the country. I have a big problem with that. If you're having an election campaign, run your campaign, fight your battles, but this sort of attack, this sort of going after the people on the opposition. The Prime Minister of the country recently told his supporters that when the opposition people campaigning and come on the doorstep, they should throw hot water on them.
I mean, but how can you do that? I mean, and look, because we see the same thing happening here in the US. When Trump gets on his platform, he says what, these ridiculous things, and then when people behave, he tries to backtrack. Mm-hmm. The thing is, you can't get on a platform and make statements like those for the simple reason that you have people in your audience who will take these things literally and go out and act on it.
Of course.
So when you make statements like that, it is irresponsible and you're putting people's lives at risk.
Definitely.
And he was not arrested for inciting anything, but members of the opposition who said that they will be using various means to get certain changes, like electoral reform is one of the big issues there, because Dominica has a voters list which has more people on it than the population of the country.
Yeah.
And the people have been calling for electoral reform since there is a citizens group, not a political group, a citizens group, which formed itself to push this matter of electoral reform. They called for certain changes. The OECS and CARICOM recently issued a report because they were observers in the last election in Dominica. They issued a report on the changes that needed to be made, which are in line with what the civic group is calling for. And the Prime Minister of the country has rejected the OECS CARICOM report, rejected it. After they invited these people to come in and to do a report on the elections, they don't like what's in the report, they don't like what it's calling for, so reject it.
Yeah. Because I remember I was in Dominica. We were on a cruise with my cousins and I, and we were shortly after the last election. And I remember our driver giving us these stories about the plane loads of people who came in, the inflated list, that all of that stuff. Yes. And I mean, he is telling us about the numbers in some constituencies that just didn't exist.
They just don't add up.
But they were there. So clearly there's a problem, and that seems to be a problem up and down the region. I have Kittian friends here too, and I remember them saying to me, they fly people in for elections. In fact, I had a very good friend who, they had approached him and asked him if he wanted a ticket to go down to St. Kitts to vote. So that seems to be the pattern. That seems, and of course we know it happened in Grenada as well. I mean, so that's the pattern now.
Right. So the people in Dominica want these reforms. And just like here in Grenada, you don't have to have proper identification when you go to vote in Dominica. You walk in, you say, my name is Beverley Sinclair, I'm here to vote. And you're allowed to vote. And if 3 more people come in and say, my name is Beverley Sinclair, they have to allow them to vote. Because there is no identification system, no verification of voters. So people can go and just vote and vote anywhere their name may be on the list, because the list is untidy.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. I mean, the list is bigger than the population of the country. That alone can tell you that the list needs to be clean.
Something is wrong.
Of course. And it is being resisted in the hierarchy of the country. They don't want to do over the list because they know what kind of games can be played with a list like that. When you have a proper voters list, you will have a proper election. Without that, it just can't work. It just cannot work.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that is the scene over there in Dominica. There are public meetings almost every day. Maybe he's at a public meeting right now, why he is not showing up. But one of the things which is admirable is that people from all walks of life in Dominica are out there making their voices heard, participating in the meetings, participating in all the activities. And it is admirable that people have gotten up and are taking a stand for the changes that they want and the things that they want to see. Just so
which is what people should do. You know, the problem that I always have with us in the Caribbean is that we figure that yes, you have a representative type democracy, but that doesn't, when you go out on election day and you vote, that doesn't end your responsibility as a citizen. You know, yes, you may vote a representative to go into parliament and do day-to-day stuff and whatnot and everything else. But your responsibility as a citizen doesn't end there. It continues. You're supposed to ensure that the person that you have elected to make the decisions on your behalf, make the decisions that you want to see done in your community, in your country, and all of that stuff. And when the person doesn't do that, you should be calling them to task on it. But people just say, oh, that's government. What do you expect? That's politicians. No, that's a cop-out. And when you do things like that, you are basically shedding your responsibility. To me, I'm thinking that when you choose to sit and just dismiss it as, oh, this is what politicians do, and you know, that is them, and I'm not doing anything else, you're just as bad as the person who doesn't vote. Then you don't have a right to complain.
You are participating in whatever mismanagement and wrongdoing, if any, is going on. That's all you're doing.
I mean, you know, as bad as things can get here in the United States, Americans, you know, they're right, they're Congress people. You think them people in Congress making them decisions that they're making so just like that? Yeah, I mean, some of them just think, but they know they want to be reelected. And those in those states where those people are hardline supporters, even if these guys disagree with Trump, they're going to agree with him because they want to be elected. Because these people, they'll tie up your phone lines, they will send you 1 million letters. Well, now it's emails. So they will crash your system with emails. Oh, yes. They don't play. And we have to do the same thing.
Exactly. Precisely so. But people are too passive, man. They're too passive. Everybody just throw up their hands in the air and what we go do? The very least you can do is speak out. That's the very least. And take it from there. But the situation in Dominica, it's, I don't know, it's a tinderbox. It's not very comforting to see that all of these things are happening. And there's a lot more going on the ground that we have not even heard of it in a proper way.
Right.
You know?
And something I experienced if you're a type of person that want to speak out and you discuss it with other people, they hold you back. They discourage you from going forward. That's another problem we have. Some people just discourage you. No, don't do that. What are you going to do that for? You get in trouble and things like that. That's another thing. That's another experience I experienced there. People are willing to go forward. If they will try to encourage them, it discourages you. Don't do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but when it comes to the country, every single taxpayer needs to be concerned about the governance of the country.
Definitely. But they don't see that as they don't see that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the amazing thing is that most people manage their money when they get it. I don't think most people, when they work hard for their money and stuff, when they get their salaries and they go home, that they just arbitrarily take it and spend it. Exactly. You know, they sit and they plan, you know, this amount goes to savings, this is to pay this bill, this is to do this is to do that. So why do you think that you should not expect your government to operate in the same way with your tax dollars?
Exactly. It's like I said to a young man the other day, I said, imagine you are the man in your house. You go out, you work, you get the money to run the household and you come home with it. And the other people in the house just take it from you and do what they want, and you cannot even get a night dinner out of the money that you are working and earning. And every time you come home, that is what happened, and you just consistently allow that to happen without taking a stand. That is how we treat the country. We just pay the taxes and we can't get a proper meal out of the taxes and we just don't care.
You're just silent. I don't know.
And I will always say it, most people, and you see them all over Facebook all the time, and you hear them on the radio, you meet them in the streets, you meet them everywhere. A lot of people are about party politics. I am about governance. Whoever sits in the seat of government needs to manage the affairs of the country properly.
Correct.
Who cares who is there? What difference does it make? But people who are politically inclined, they feel like this is the party they support. And if they burn down Grenada flat from St. Patrick to St. George and Carriacou and Petit Martinique, you must agree with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's what happens.
Absolutely ridiculous.
I don't know, people are, and then again, people are they're quite afraid. People are quite scared of branding, a troublemaker, because you're a troublemaker when you speak up, when you rationalize what is going on, you are branded as a troublemaker. And what are you going to do?
But I mean, I guess I suppose there's some validity to that. But I mean, how long are we going to use fear as an excuse for doing nothing?
I don't know, darling.
Exactly. Quite so, Margaret. So you just don't do anything. In many cases, there is legitimacy to this fear of victimization, etc., which people need to just rise above and find a way to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
You see? But a lot of people, it's not about victimization. It's about getting government contracts and getting government jobs.
Exactly.
They don't want to open them out and say anything because, what go happen. You're not going to get the contract. You ain't going to get this, you ain't going to get that. So I really pour a lot of salt on this victimization thing. You see, someone like the former cabinet secretary is being victimized. And I will say that boldly because she was removed from her position. She challenged it in court. She won the case. And up to now, the government has refused from paying her. Now, if that is not victimization, I don't know what is.
I mean, I've had friends in Grenada who have had their dealings with that as well. And they were victimized. And, they just decided, look, you know what? I'm not going to back down. I'm not going to take whatever. They ended up, being victimized, taken and shoved in the back corner of some ministry with nothing to do. And you know what? They walk away. And they've been better for having walked away because they found other things to do. And they're going on. And sometimes you just have to do that. You just have to stand on the side of principle. And these are people who weren't just victimized by government. Then you had, your co-workers and friends who figured, people who were supposed to be your friends suddenly don't want to deal with you anymore because you're toxic. And they don't want to be associated with you because suddenly people are going to see them as being a certain way also. So they're not even taking your phone calls when you call.
But when you mentioned it, Margaret, in what you were saying, and don't just let it slide by. When you stand on a principle, sometimes there are just some things that you have to do and that you will do. When you do not stand on a principle, then of course you might fall for anything. And you're going to say, oh, you have to do this and you have to do that. That's nothing to do, but oh gosh, it's just sad to see the way people support wrong and call it right just because you feel like you support this political party, that political party, and whatever is done under the umbrella of the party, you must support it and you must say it right. And you must find some kind of justification for it as well.
Where's Atty?
There's Atty, I think.
There is Atty. Atty?
Eating.
And he's eating.
I hope, Atty, are you hearing me?
Not yet.
It doesn't seem so. No, Atty needs to realize that he can't be eating and not be sharing. You know, I mean, there was this airline that wanted to introduce this model. I don't know if they did, but they didn't want people bringing food on the plane because they were like, if you brought for yourself, you had to bring for everybody on the plane. So, Atty can't be sitting there eating and drinking alone and not sharing.
Atty, I want you to nod your head if you're hearing us. Very good. we were talking about Dominica, so you can chew and swallow. If I had more confidence in the police force in Dominica, I would have called them and tell them that Atty is missing. They should go and look for you. But I didn't want them to take that as a cue to go and arrest you.
Don't let them know where I am. I'm the
Artie, could you try and get your face there in the middle of the frame for us, please? All right.
Tilt down.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That's better. Yes, that's better. Yes, Atty. So we're glad you're here. We were just talking about the tape that was played in Dominica.
Which one?
The espionage tape. The one with the dropping of the bag and the picking up of the bag. And we kind of bemoaning how we as citizens have allowed our politics to deteriorate to this level because we support a political party and whatever they do, we call every wrong they do right and seek to find justification for it as well.
It's a very, very, very serious matter,
It is?
Very serious. Because these gentlemen came into the country organized by the Labour Party, who appeared to be the only ones who knew, number one, that the bag was a black bag. Number two, that the bag contained $1 million. Nobody else knew except the Labour Party talking heads. And so in the excitement and the anticipation that this would have, resulted in kind of an embarrassment for the leader of the opposition, they started talking about it at their rallies and at their meetings. Remember, this happened not last week, this happened before.
Yeah.
And they had no idea that the entire episode had been captured on some extremely high quality security cameras, showing the gentleman making 3 attempts at trying to make this thing look normal.
Authentic. Yeah. Boy, that is really something. But these two men, they appear to be Caucasian. Are they Dominicans? Are they people well known?
No, they're British people. They have been fully identified. They are 2 citizens of Britain who are employed and engaged by the Prime Minister of the country.
In what capacity?
They appear to be engaged to defame and discredit members of the opposition. They appeared at a rally of the opposition party and positioned themselves to have their pictures as if they were taking pictures, with the full knowledge and consent of the members of the opposition, different members of the opposition, when in fact it was all a matter of juxtaposing and angles of camera. One
So
of
they
them
wanted the pictures to look like they were part of the opposition group. Okay.
And they obviously are people who have done this kind of thing before.
But in a country where the majority of the people are black, these two white men stick out like sore thumbs.
That's where white people are safest among black people.
They may be safe, but they also stand out because they cannot blend in with the rest of the population to say, well, these things are happening by your people. And because
but
of
black
your
people will not report white people.
That's true.
That is true.
And
certainly not those in the Caribbean.
Yeah. And it's just the cameras are the saving factor here.
Yes, without those cameras, the leader of the opposition would have had a hard time proving that he did not collect $1 million in a black suitcase.
And what was shown this week on Tuesday night to a massive crowd of people on the Bayfront Boulevard was on the screen was split to show the CCTV with the clock running and to show where Mr. Linton actually was, which was on the platform on the Bayfront with the clock running. And you could feel the when the first round was shown to the people.
Because people would have had doubts. It would have put doubts in some people's mind. But after the other question, did the Prime Minister actually say that elections will be held within 100 days?
Well, he said within 100 days.
Yeah, but when does the 100 days countdown begin?
Today's the 97th day.
So the elections will be held or they will be announced within the 100 days. Did he say will be held or will be announced within the 100 days?
Will be held.
But he hasn't given a date yet.
No.
That means he's probably going to just call it
that was another
moment.
I think
it has a date. You must give 5 or 6 weeks or something like that.
He has to give a minimum of 30 days notice for the election. So, effectively you have 77 days within which time at any time he can call
an election.
He can set a date.
Yeah.
But there's some really interesting and astounding mixings and matchings going on. There's a story making the round now that he has named his wife in the Roseau constituency, the Roseau Central, as a decoy.
Okay.
And that he plans to run in that seat.
Oh, but what is this now? So who is going to run in his seat?
Because he's been given a run for his money by a young, first-time politician in his home constituency.
So
he held a town hall meeting.
Who is he going to put to run in his constituency?
Well, that is really immaterial, because if he put anybody else there, he will be basically just handing the constituency over to the opposition. Right now, it's just a good, solid fight, because for the first time in his 15 years or 20 years as an elected parliamentarian, he had a town hall meeting, and the people in his constituencies were asking him some vigorous and hard questions. Basically, all of the questions hinting that, it's only now you want to come and tell us what you want to do. All the years that passed here, what about this project? What about that project? What about this project? And so on and so on. First time his constituents took him on, and it happened live on radio, because he never anticipated that kind of reception. He thought he was just going to be loved and hugged and coddled, and but he had a real surprise. So the entire nation heard his constituents challenging him, speaking very vigorously. And it was soon after that that the rumor arose that actually he may be considering running in the Roseau Central seat.
Yeah, because that's the constituency from which agriculture is going to gravitate.
Well, it's a constituency that was won by the opposition. But the guy who won it for the opposition has since walked across to the Labour Party.
Yes, I remember that. I remember that one.
So
let him stay there.
Yeah.
Yeah. People have a right to support whichever party they want to support. I have zero issue with that. What I have a big issue with is when people take wrong and call it right just because of the party they support.
Oh, yeah.
And they do it to the detriment of themselves and to the nation. Because that kind of politics is just not sustainable. It's not.
It's not even politics, really. I think politics has got a bad name from politicians, and it's really not even politics. I just came from the reason I'm just arriving is that I just came from a youth open forum. Young entrepreneurs, young Dominicans, giving some thought to the kinds of investments and projects and programs that they would like to be involved in and they would like to see launched, etc. Everything from recycling to waste management to high technology projects in agriculture and so on and so on. Really, a very, very, very fascinating exercise. Gives me a sense of hope.
Yes. I always feel that way when I engage with young people in that kind of forum, because you can see that the energy is there, the ideas are there, and the will is there to grow and develop and move the country forward.
Oh, yeah.
That is why we need to get politics out of these young people's way so that they can get to advance.
Yeah, man.
Guys, just sticking with the CBI here for a minute, there's a very interesting comment here from Ronald Joseph. He says, in a recent statement, G.A.W. Dwyer Estefan, I'm assuming that's the person who we're missing in action tonight, of St. Kitts, said that all the political figures in CBI countries, whether they are in government or opposition, are somewhere in contact with the high-stake CBI agents. And Chris H.P. is one of them. He expresses his surprise after knowing that Lennox Linton denied any association with Chris H.P., along with Terry Barron on Q95 FM. What do you know about that, Artie?
There's no such person as Terry Barron. Terry Barron is not the guy's name. It's a false name. It's a fake name. We've been, a picture of his passport photo page has been published with his real name. So I'm afraid Dwyer has been hoodwinked.
Boy, we got to get him back here next week.
Yeah, I really need Dwyer to be engaged this time, in this time, because his position has been that the program is okay. It's just been mismanaged. Mismanaged by whom and for what?
And how?
In Dominica's case, it's been managed to the tune of $1.5 billion over a 6-month period.
Mm-hmm.
And we are now discovering $3.8 billion over a 4-year period. Come on. That's a nasty program. It's not just badly managed, it's abused by politicians, and the opposition politicians and opposition businessmen and independent businessmen don't have a chance, a snowball's chance in hell of being involved with those programs, because the guys want to keep all the money. It's the guys in government that are keeping the money. And if Dwyer was in government when this program was around, which he was, I want him to tell me what was different about the management style and approach and structure at that time compared to now. Did they close the gaps? No. And that's the problem. That's the problem. If people want to be opportunistic, let them be. Fine. But facts are facts. Facts are facts. Why are there so many incomplete projects in St. Kitts? Projects that were started under the previous administrations that never got completed because there was never any intent to complete them. There was only an intent to sell the passport, get the money, and run. And that's what happened. We caught them here because they got so bloody greedy. They were doing it in broad daylight. Why are the other islands not owning up? Is it that the opposition parties are simply waiting for their opportunity to feed at the trough again?
And that is the concern. That is the concern. Because the opposition parties have not come out swinging against the kind of corruption that the CBI program can cover. They have not come out swinging against the mismanagement. They have not come out to reassure the public that they are working towards changing and having a system of governance that can work for the citizens of the country. You know, it's really and truly like they just want to get into the same system, to continue the same thing, and to enjoy whatever the corruption is causing people to enjoy without putting the country front and center of the plans. It's not a nice feeling at all. It doesn't make you want to go out there and even look at these political parties in any sort of favorable light.
Wondering out loud why we haven't been hearing the voices of either the other political parties, either opposition or incumbents, about the rejection, the out and out rejection by the Labour Party in Dominica, who happens to be in government now, of the recommendations of the OAS, the Commonwealth Secretariat, and CARICOM on electoral reform in Dominica. Why even the CARICOM countries who signed on to the recommendations, just like the OAS and the COMSEC did, why are they not issuing a statement expressing their disgust or displeasure at the out and out rejection by the Labour Party through the Attorney General of their recommendations? Why? Neither the opposition parties nor, although they too in most of these islands have actually conducted and implemented those same recommendations. So what is it that prevents them from calling out a fellow government, a fellow party? What is it?
Well, maybe it's just what we said. They are not concerned because they just want to ease into a dysfunctional system. And then the dysfunction continues. Well, I hope that somehow Dominica can get the electoral reform that it is clamoring for. I really, really would love to see it happen. because how can it make sense to go back into another election, I think, with a voters list that is bigger than the population of the country?
It just makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
We're going to get it, but one way or the other, we're going to get it. What I'm concerned about is the other.
Yeah.
Because the mood in the country right now, with a growing number of people and a growing segment of the population across the board, the mood is, if you don't give it to us, we are going to take it. And you know what that means?
Yeah.
That is not a nice option. Not nice.
No, absolutely not.
And we're sitting here, we're watching what's going on in Haiti. We're watching what's going on in the other parts of the world. And we see, and I'm afraid that Dominica is in the dressing room getting ready to join that crew. That's what it looks like to me. And it's not going to be nice because people are very pissed off.
So at least I would think that if there is one little shred, one little dot, one little spot in the ruling, in the party which now forms the government to say we care about this country. If it's one thing we're gonna do, let's fix the voters list. Just this one thing. And all the other things, leave them, let them continue to make noise about that. But as a matter of priority, as a matter of, at least trying to change this perception that, and these opinions that the people now have of the party, at least let's deal with the voters list and see if we can cool down some of the tempers. Do that now?
Yep. No, but now they seem determined.
Don't hold your breath, Beverly. It will happen.
They seem determined to ramp up the tension in the country.
Yes.
That is happening.
And it is just so unnecessary, unnecessary. But if you are sitting in the seat of governance and you believe that people love you so much and you are so popular, this is how you go about trying to stay where you are?
But they know. They just did another poll, The Labour Party just had another poll done for itself, and it's looking even worse than the last set.
Wow.
So they see, I've been in this thing long enough to know that there comes a time when you sense the boat shifting. You sense the shift. You feel the shift. You go to a meeting and you see people at that meeting openly who never ever presented themselves at any political meeting, yet there they are, openly. That's a sign of a shift. So, for whatever it's worth, we'll see.
But there is one thing you need to update us on, Arthur. Richardson reminded us that you had a significant date coming up with your case for 14th of October.
Yeah, the police were supposed to have delivered their disclosure documents to my attorney, and from what I gathered today, they haven't. The magistrate had said that if they hadn't done the disclosure by the 13th, he was going to throw out the matter. So I have to wait and see. But if they throw out the matter, my attorney is going to sue the police force for harassment. And that will make the second lawsuit that I am involved in against the government, because we already have another one going on. But it's just really, they just, Tony Astafan and these guys, they just make a mockery of the courts and a mockery of it. And you have judges that make a mockery of the justice system. So, it's anybody's guess. They will use their tricks to delay it as long as possible, I guess.
RT, we're really out of time, but I have some comments from Ronald Joseph here. He's asking, where is Dwyer Astafan. Well, Dwyer's not here tonight, and we haven't heard from him. Bev, did you get an excuse?
Does he what?
Bev?
Sorry?
I was asking, did you get an excuse from Dwyer tonight?
He told me he had some challenges. That's why we have not seen him these past few weeks.
Okay.
But he's working on getting over them.
So continuing here, RT, Ronald Joseph goes on to say, is G.A. Dwyer Astafan a passport agent? What does he know about Lennox Linton? Is he a friend of Roosevelt Scarrett? His relative is the personal lawyer and advisor of Scarrett. RT, don't forget that Dwyer's relative, Anthony Astafan, is the personal lawyer and main advisor to PM Scarrett.
Yeah. Look, personal lawyer and official spokesperson, upon, so designated by the Prime Minister himself. He said Tony Astafan can speak for him on any matter, anywhere, anytime.
Wow.
All right, guys.
Yeah. This is a private attorney, not in the employ of the state, actually. Yeah. So yeah.
Right,
I mean, I have questions too. I'm concerned.
We're out of time. I think we're gonna have to pick up back next week. I'm sure a lot will happen over the coming weeks. Thanks, folks. Thanks everyone for joining us, and all the suspects. Have a great weekend. We look forward to the next time.
Yep.